Boa tarde, pessoal. Muito bem-vindos. Para los hermanos hispanohablantes también, muy bienvenidos. Tom,
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for coming. Thanks a lot for having accepted our invitation. You were a pioneer for us, and I thank you for all the contributions you have been making to the field. You'll be talking here with music therapy students and professionals from South America. So I think we are ready to go.
Bravo. Obrigado.
De nada.
Okay. Welcome to everybody. I'm very privileged and happy to be invited to this session. And I hope we can have a nice time together. I am so happy that I am allowed to tell about my life, how I started, and about my way into music therapy. It started in 1968 because I was then at a high school that had music mainly as a main subject. And my teacher there, a Dutch guy called Rudolf Schwartjes, he learned me about Orff methods and not at least the modes, the church keys, the modes. You know, modes, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, these things. And this was linked to folk tones in Norway that are often into modes. So what we did at this gymnasium, this high school, was to sing these songs and making ostinatos with Orff instruments. And in between the song, we were improvising. And the nice things with modes is that on a xylophone, for instance, you can do nothing wrong if you play on what are they called? The staves. That is like the white keys on the piano. You cannot do anything wrong. So we practiced this at my high school, and after a while, I got a job as a music teacher at a music school for small children. And I started with these methods with Orff and improvisation. And I was asked to take a little girl, 7 years old, that had extremely anxiety problems. She was vomiting when she came to school. She had to go home. She was totally locked, and her school start was a catastrophe. And I was asked if I could have this little girl into my music class with the other 7 years old children. So I was going to let her play the xylophone like the other small children, but she was very nervous and she was shivering actually at the metallophone. And she said, "Oh, I cannot, I don't dare to do this." But I said, "Oh, you can play vibrato," because she was playing like this on a metallophone. And I said, "Wow, wonderful, you can play vibrato." And she said, "Oh, no, I cannot. I'm so afraid to do anything wrong." And my message to her was, here is impossible to make any mistakes. She looked up to me and said, "Is it true?" "Yes, it's true. Here in this music class, it is impossible to make any mistakes. Everything you are doing here will be right." And when she started to believe that something happened, because then she started first to play carefully, improvised carefully, and this fitted very well into the ostinat, into the folk song. The folk song was beautiful. It was Inga lite mor på han kvar I kongsgården mol, og hva de små visorna av ljus og liv og sol. Orkestrument and her improvisation on, and she, after a while, she felt that she succeeded this. And it was true that she could not make any mistakes. So she started to improvise more and more actively, and she got more and more free in her improvisation. And in the end, she was banging very hard at the xylophone, so the claves jumped off the xylophone. And it was like she had been so nervous the whole life, so now she wanted to be tough. And she succeeded very, very well. And she became the class soloist. That was one thing, very important thing for her. And another thing was that it came another pupil, mentally retarded, Down syndrome, into the class. And after this girl, called, you can call her Maria, after she had progressed so much, I asked, can you be an assistant teacher for me with this Down syndrome girl? And she said, yes, she would very much like. And that is a system or an idea I have used a lot in music therapy, to use better function people to support and help other with more need for help. So the thing was, this little girl had a great success, and it went very well at school. And her mother sent me a card. Thank you very much for helping our daughter. Now it's everything fine at school, and she has been a brave girl, and this has really changed her life. And the fact that this music activity could change a person dramatically impressed me so much that from this time I was devoting myself to music therapy. So that was the very start, actually. Are you following me?
Yes. I have a question. At that time, Tom, there was no such a name as music therapy, or you had listened, you had heard about it already?
I had hardly not heard about music therapy at that time. And this was in 1970, and even nordoff-robbins were coming to Norway. I will tell about that though. But I didn't meet, this was in 1970, but I didn't meet Paul and Clive before 73, actually.
Right.
But let me tell a little bit about nordoff-robbins. Okay. So nordoff-robbins actually came to Scandinavia in 1968. They got a foundation from the American Scandinavian Foundation that made it possible for Paul and Clive to visit Denmark, Finland, Sweden, Norway, and Iceland. Scandinavia. So here they gave a lot of demonstration and lectures in this mostly unknown field of music therapy from 1968. So here is a nice picture, I think. with Paul Nordoff and Clive Robbins driving their old Rover car. Paul Nordoff to the left, Clive Robbins to the right. This is in the winter. It's taken in Finland, our neighbor country. And the package there, they had all the recorders and all the materials. They were driving around in this old Rover. And they were giving courses. And here is a picture from 1970, where they gave a course in music therapy with, as you can see, 34 participants, mostly women at that time, and still maybe in music therapy, this is mostly women. Paul Nordoff to the left here, with a cigarette in his mouth, Clive Robbins to the right, and the participants here. I remember here we started our music therapy association in this room, and I still can smell the smell of Paul's cigarettes, actually.
I like it.
Because Paul was a kind of diva and a kind of aristocrat, and he smoked Ken cigarettes with a long mouthpiece, sometimes, quite often. At that time, he was smoking while he was teaching, the same he did in London. This is now crazy to think about, but at
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
At this time, it was accepted. So
what's the reason, Tom, for women only?
Oh, that's a hard question. Maybe because I think music therapy is caring, like a nursing and caring, and these caring professions were mainly belonged to women, maybe, and many of them were children's music teacher, kindergarten teachers, actually.
But what about you and Evan Rood, for example?
Later, this was taken in 1970. I still were at the high school. 1970. I left the high school in 71.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to work at an institution. I will come back to that later.
Okay.
But this picture and all the other history, I will mention that before I forget it. Everything about this is written in an article I wrote after Clive's death in 2011. It's in Voices, a World Forum for Music Therapy, and it's called Clive's First and Last Trip to Norway, and something between. And of course, it's filled with stuff with nordoff-robbins as well. Do you have some green lines on your screen?
We do have. You may, I don't know if you may, pass something on the screen, but I mean,
because this is not meant to be, and I don't know how to get rid of it. But
me neither. Alguém sabe como remover esses riscos verdes?
I think it's a beautiful art.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, if you wanted to look more into this history about Paul and Clive, I can recommend this article. And I use pictures and glimpse from this article in my PowerPoint here. Okay, then I go further. So I started to work formally with music therapy by intuition, because I had not heard about music therapy and I was not trained, but I was doing it by intuition at a big institution for mentally handicapped. That was because I was refusing the military service, so I had a civil service, and I wanted to work with music with mentally retarded. And then I have been working since 71. I have almost been working 2 years with music therapy in this institution when I heard that Paul and Clive was sitting in Denmark, our neighbor country. They were sitting writing on this book, Creative Music Therapy. So I went to visit them, and I brought some tapes from my clinical work. Paul and Clive put it onto a tape recorder, you know, the old tape recorder, these wheels, and they put it on and listened to it carefully. And then Paul said, "Ah, Tom, we are in family." So, and he explained that this kind of improvisation was the same thing they were doing. They were improvising from intuition and trying to get contact with imitating or incorporating the responses from the client in the way that we later have called clinical improvisation. So the contact with Clive and Paul established very strongly, and we got very good friends and good colleagues. And I'm so privileged to open the chapter meeting the music child in both the old book and also in that revised book with 2 cases. By the way, here is the new book with the greetings from Clive, that is showing our friendship by saying, "For my dearest, kindest friend and colleague, Tom, celebrating 37 years of sharing, growing, creating together." From Clive.
Beautiful, very beautiful.
So that's a nice thing, memory. And 2 cases. Another time I can maybe show you cases from music therapy.
So that's a promise. That's a promise.
Yes, yes. And I have several witnesses, so I cannot run away from that promise, I guess. Okay, so over close contact with Paul and Clive in Denmark, it caused a cooperation with us, and this cooperation led to a 2-month course that was held in my working place called Killingen in October and November in 1973. So here is Paul at the piano, Clive staying by the piano there, and they were also giving clinical demonstration. So here is a client, a child playing cymbal with Clive, Clive shouting and really is giving his whole passion into this work. So, because I was so lucky to get the whole building here, it was meant to start a new ward there, but the economy said that they didn't have money. So for a period, for the rest of the period I was here, I had this whole house. And in the basement there, we were dividing into two parts. One part was the clinical room, and then it was a wall with a one-way screen, and behind there was the students. And when we came to training, we had the clinical setting. I was in the left room there doing music therapy, and Paul and Clive was sitting and recording their comments directly to the recording of the clinical recording. And the same model that started here, they transferred to the 1974 course in London. Then I'm going to tell a little bit about this course that was in an institution called the Goldie Lee Hospital, where they had mentally retarded. The course lasted from January to June, and it was 15 students from different parts of the world, and it was for Norwegian students. That here we stay outside our house that we are renting in a famous place called Blackheath in London, where Sandy Shore and other artists were living. Anyway, from the left here is Uni Jones, and it's me, and it's Knut Onstad, and it's Cecil. Cecil has practiced Martimeo methods very much. Knut is now a psychiatrist and have been practiced as a psychiatrist for a lifelong time, still working, 75 now. I have been working with music therapy almost 50 years. But have retired. Uni Jones started to study psychology and have been working as a family psychologist with some kind of music using. But I think it's only me that have stayed with doing music therapy clinically and been teaching music therapy at our academy for 43 years. Yeah, everything okay? Shall I continue? Okay. I'm going to talk about love. Because Paul opened the course at Goldie Lee in 1974 with these words. He had very deep sound, very deep voice, and talking very slowly. And he was saying, there are two things you need in order to become a good music therapist. That is love for music and love for the child. He said child because they were mainly jobbing with children, but he meant also clients, of course. I was so lucky to visit their mentor at Sunfield Home of Children, where Paul and Clive met in the 50s. I think it was already in 58 they met at the Sunfield Home of Children, where Clive was working with Piff Puff Poultry, and Paul, he was actually going to play piano for his wife, because his wife was teaching this anthroposophic, what is it called again? The movement, you remember?
Eurythmia.
Bravo, arrhythmia. And Paul was joining his wife to accompaniment this arrhythmia. That was the first time he went there. And during one of the first stays here, Clive was listening to Paul playing at the piano, and he was playing music he had put to the C.C. Cummings poems, and Clive have told, I fall in love with the music that this wonderful man could produce. So there was also a love starting both for music and each other, of course. And Dr. Herbert Goethe, that was leading this institution, and it was their mentor. He has said once that Clive sent me a PowerPoint with these words that Dr. Goethe said. He said, love isn't just a warm, happy feeling. Love is perception. And I've been thinking of that many times. Because when we work with clients, we have to use a lot of perception. And all this perception is equivalent, I think, to love. And when Paul refers to Zuckerkandel, that is saying each tone is an event. This can be related to when Paul is focusing at a single tone as an event. He is using a lot of perception. He's using actually love to explore this. If you should explore tones, explore melodies, if you should love music, explore it, and you should use your perception, you have to love it. To be perceptive is very much in family with love. I mean, if you are in love with a person, you are percepting the outer and the inner, and the words and the touching and everything. So I think the words from Heb, as we called him, Heb Goiter, love is perception, is very important. I was, when I prepared this thing, I was talking to André a lot about all the letters we have been exchanging with Paul in good old days. It may be 30, 40 letters here. And I just opened one.
And I'm planning to go to Norway to open all these letters, just to let people know.
all my private letters. My God, you are crazy, man. No, but it's you can. It's not so very secret.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Paul, there is in many ways there are love letters. They are talking about love many times in their letters. And I found one sentence that it's from a letter from August 1973, and Paul writes, when you give love to our children, to our clients through music, we must give all ourselves. We only hold back the consciousness we need to direct the music properly. So again, love is a theme, important theme concerning relationship and the relationship to music. And I think the following clip that I will demonstrate for you now from YouTube, this clip describes very well this active love and perception for music and the children. Shall I show you the clip now?
Please, please.
So here we can experience nordoff-robbins in music therapy, music therapeutic work, and you find this clip. It's made in Norway, and in Norway it's called Øyvind kan slå på tromme. It's made in Oslo in 1971, and we are very proud that it started here in Norway, actually, because it's a very famous film that is used at New York University and Japan, all over the world, because it's describing the clinical improvisation very, very well. And you can find it on YouTube under the title, if you look at YouTube and you find the title, Øyvind can play the drum.
I'm sorry, was it in 1971 or 73?
I think I just read from Clive that it was recorded in 71 and was shown in 72.
Okay.
But I'm not 100%, but before today, I think I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here we go. There is actually 6 minutes.
Tom, maybe it's too much, 6 minutes. So you decide when to stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But it is with very good guys then. But yeah, we will see. But I think it's very much essential. We will see. I start. You can also interrupt me and say stop.
Okay. We have no sound, unfortunately. We have no sound. And I'm not hearing you, Tom.
Yes, because I thought I just cut my microphone. But I cut the whole. Yeah, I understand now. Okay. Okay, sorry, I thought I just cut my mic, but I'm cutting the whole sound.
Mhm.
Okay?
Well, the beginning, we could listen the beginning. Let's try again.
Yeah, okay.
For children who can't relate to the world in which we live adequately and closely and meaningfully, music is important because music provides another world of experience and activity that is fully human, but it's a world they can get to grips with. There's nothing to stop them enjoying it and being active in it and realizing themselves in their activity in it. And for each child, you have to present a different kind of mood in the music. The mood of the music must engage his mood.
Think of what kind of music would reach you. It would be different depending on how you felt. If you were feeling very sad, you would want a different music from if you felt on a beautiful spring day in Norway. I'm so happy spring is here, you would want a different kind of music. But suppose you could not help being sad. You were always sad and could do nothing about it. And someone came and made music for you that expressed your sadness. It would change, I think, your feeling about your sadness because you would be hearing it, not just feeling it inside, but hearing it. You can't sit down ready to play a Mozart minuet or a Beethoven or a Bartok. You can't. You must be ready to meet whatever comes.
Vlot. Nu. Helvia. Karin. Ja.
each kind of music is a world of music. And these worlds live in us. If I asked you to describe each child, what is the geography of Irvin? Is he a wet child or a dry child? Is he a mountain child or a seashore child? Is he an ocean child? Is he an island child? And this is the kind of imaginative thinking that therapists must do if they are going to be creative. Otherwise, they have simply a dry formula or a theory or a dogma or some idea that you can apply to every child. And you can't, because everyone is different.
Okay, let's stop there. Any questions or comments?
Well, this is wonderful.
It's wonderful. It's art. And there is, Paul was talking about in the end of this clip, he was talking about, is it a mountain child? Is it a seashore child? And I think Paul said himself he was an Indian, American Indian, and maybe is some Indian thoughts, metaphors. Is he a seashore child? Is a mountain child? He is also saying something very, very, very open and very much core to this idea of mythology, and that is the music must match the mood of the client. That's very, very important, because if you are playing for let's see, a sad person, if you are presenting sad music, you are giving him acceptance and acknowledgement. And acknowledgement is very, 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 very central. It's maybe the fundament in a clinical process, that you're showing acknowledgement. I accept you. I want you as you are. I don't want to change you. First of all, I want to just accept you, and that I can do with my music. If you are,
Tom,
yep.
Tom, at Nordoff-Robbins in New York, we could see Clive Robbins walking around saying, be careful with the entity. Music is an entity. And now we are hearing in the early 70s, Paul saying and Clive saying, the mood of the music, not the mood of the music therapist, but the mood of the music must engage the mood of the child. And I remember studying Audrey. Remember Audrey? We have to find a matching picture from Audrey to Audrey in music. So we can see always Paul, since the very beginning, understanding music as an entity with mood.
Yeah. Yes. Entity is a unit, isn't it? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think it explains, for example, in Exploration 4, when Paul says that the scale has a creative self. There's the music therapist, and there's the music which is produced by the clinical relationship. So he's not saying the mood of the music therapist must encounter the music of the child, but the mood of the music that is produced through the encounter of the relationship must match the child's mood. So three entities, right? The therapist, the child, and the music.
Yeah. And of course, in a session, it's not not necessary that you have that moods when you start. You might be very happy, but as a professional music therapist, if you meet a sad child or sad client, then you have to be professional and match that with a music that might be sad, for instance. Okay.
Beautiful video, beautiful, powerful.
And another thing with this clip is I think you could see that Paul was able to speed up the tempo.
Oi, eu não tenho bacon.
The tempo of the child, and that is one thing they are stressing quite much. It's a link with mental situation and tempo, because when you are sad, maybe you have a slower tempo than if you are happy. You are maybe a faster tempo. So there is a relationship with emotions and tempo. So you are able to let clients experience other sides of themselves, other emotions, just with working with tempo mobility. So just very technically here, Paul was playing 3 against 4 and going up in the discount area with the piano, and he successfully made the tempo rising for this girl. Okay, shall I continue?
Please.
So after this course in 1974, Paul got ill. He got inflammation and later cancer, I think in liver, and he got very bad health, and he moved to Herdecke in Germany and stayed there for quite a long time, more than a year, I think. And he died there in Herdecke in Germany in 1977. I remember I called him some days before, and he was very depressed actually, and I said I loved him, but he was very depressed and said it's too late. And I remember I was going to be a night nurse at the hospital that night, but I had to quit because I was crying and could not stop crying, because I had a very strong relationship to Paul. Paul Nordoff, a fantastic pianist, composer, music therapist, and he had been working with music therapy in collaboration with Clive Robbins from 1958. What I was maybe a little bit too quick here, because it was what I wanted to tell you about a little bit about this fantastic course that is written down in a book that is that André is very, very much into. So yes, we both have it. So this is the whole course. It's taped every second from that course and transcribed into this book. So it's nice to read about our names and what we say, and what of course what Paul is, how he is talking about music. So it was a marvelous course, especially when Paul was teaching, for instance, intervals, as you can read about in chapter 4 in that book. He was saying, oh, listen here how Bach is using the third, and then he's running out just from memory at the piano, examples from Bach. But in comparison with Schubert, but how Schubert could use the third, the interval third, he said. But listen here, listen to Ravel, how he was using thirds. And he was just picking, you know, from his big, huge repertoire as a pianist. And it was amazing. It was a thrill. It was a fairy tale. And we were kind of hypnotized by his teaching and his music. You know, it was yeah, I don't have word for it. It was a great experience.
Tom, I loved something that you said to me yesterday. I'd like you to share with people. You were telling me that some of us here got a chance to know Clive. And you said, Clive, we all know there are a lot of empathy, but in comparison to Paul, tell people, I mean.
Well, I was talking about the radiation and what was the word I was using? Yeah, the great personality and the radiation and
intensity.
Intensity, and there's another word, maybe it's coming. But I mean, Clive had this aura and this fantastic personality and this radiation, you know. But I think Paul Nordoff had maybe 10 times the same. When Paul came into a room, the whole room kind of stopped and was about his, how to say?
Presence. I would say presence.
Yes, his presence. And to talk with Paul was a very special experience. He was a very special person, and he had a great background as a maybe not everybody knows, but he has been written big music, you know, for ballets and for string quartets, for choirs, and even a symphony. He wrote a symphony that is called a Winter Symphony. I have actually played something from it. Maybe I played a little bit of it in Buenos Aires. I'm not sure. I played something, but anyway. So no, Paul Nordoff has a fantastic background, and he was a fantastic man with a great personality. And I think that the way he was with this radiation, this a little bit aristocratic way, he was not afraid to go directly to the ministry in Norway, for instance. They wanted to listen to visit the highest people in our government, and they were accepted very much because they were had this how to say kind of almost a royal attitude, you know. So therefore, when I came to MIHCM, the place I was showing you the building from, Paul Nordoff and Clive Robbins had already been there in the 60s. So music therapy had a very high star there. So when I came and said to the director that I would do music therapy, he said, "Oh, of course, music therapy. We know about that, and you must have the best conditions." This is very much because Paul and Clive had been there some years ago, actually.
Sorry, Tom, we have 10 minutes left.
Yeah. let me see how far I was. Yeah, so we started from this nordoff-robbins course, both Unni in the middle here and me, we were trained at nordoff-robbins. So naturally, our training program is in Norway is very much influenced about the nordoff-robbins. And so here is the founders of the training program. We started in 1978, Unni and I, and not at least Even. Even has been a locomotive, kind of. He's been writing very serious and important books. Even Ruud.
You all know Evan Wood here.
You know about Even Ruud?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a trainings program in Norway. We have a 1 year music and health as a bachelor. Then we have 2 years master. So it's 5 years full-time study to become a music therapist. We even also have PhD programs, and we have this both in Oslo, our main town, and also in Bergen in the west of Norway. So okay, and then let me see. Yes, Clive was coming back when we had 30 years anniversary in Oslo, 2008. He was then a guest of honor to celebrate 30 years for our music therapy program. And then Clive and I went to the program, music therapy program in Bergen, and teach. And we also went into the Norwegian fjords, the famous Norwegian fjords. Clive had always dreamt about going into the fjords with boats, so he really loved. He says in an email to me in 1st January in 2009 that it was a continuous peak experience, this trip into. And peak experience, there is a thing there they are using very much in their music therapy. It's from Maslow, actually. Peak experience that is important for stimulate a direction in life. Peak experience, Maslow. Then I visit Clive in 2010, and he was at hospital there, but I came to him with love letters from Norway and with Norwegian smoked salmon, and he raised from the bed and started to teach again. So he lived 1 more year. But this picture here is taken 2 days before Clive died. And the pillow, if you can see in the seat beside him, has this text: "Together we can make beautiful music." For him, the life was a journey with and in beautiful music and togetherness. So I went back to Norway, and the 7th of December, I felt very strange. I felt strongly I had to call him, but I just opened my computer first and checked. There was a mail from Barbara Hesser, told me that Clive had passed away. Okay, so just a few words about the relationship with this creative music therapy and what methods I have been writing. And this is very much, we are very much the same roots, nordoff-robbins roots, but maybe I have a branch from this tree. First of all, we are both music-centered and resource-oriented. And at the time in the beginning, from the 70s, maybe I went more over to use pop and rhythmic music, Latin music, all these resources, and I used synthesizer, and I started with rock band, etc. So this was not accepted, especially by Paul at that time, but it has changed a lot. And now the nordoff-robbins music therapists are working with all kinds of styles. And Ken Hagen, he is very much into groove. He's been writing a lot about the importance of groove in music therapy. So it's been opening very, very much the area and the styles, and I think we are now doing music therapy in all kinds of areas in treatment. So I think we are close. We're celebrating just now in August. We were celebrating 50 years anniversary for our Norwegian Association of Music Therapy. And I think we are quite special in Norway because we have only one association for music therapy. Mm-hmm. I think other countries have many more. I'm teaching in Spain, and I think they have 60 associations. So we have been so lucky that we have one, and we are working with the same direction. We are staying together. And
I don't know if you are aware, but in Brazil, we are pretty much united as well. So we have diversity in terms of the ways of thinking music therapy and practicing it, but in terms of the gains, political gains and objectives, we are pretty much united as well. Oh. So congratulations for the Norwegian Association.
Yeah, thank you.
Tom, we have to stop.
Yeah.
Tom, no words to thank you. I was telling people that I hope we have you several times with us and listening to your beautiful clinical cases, the project with the band, wonderful, wonderful. And thanks, no words to thank you for sharing with us your beautiful career.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you for everybody that has listening to me. I hope you have had some outfits out of, or how to say it. I hope it has been useful for you. And I hope to see you again.
Great. It was great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Elizabeth, for your really, as always, very competent work, always. Yes. Thank you so very much.
Yes, I agree very much.
Thank you, Gregorio. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Marina, for recording. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, and thank you to André that is conducting this and inviting. And thank you, Marina. Nice to see you again. Yes, and to everybody, hope to see you all again.
You'll come back. You'll come back.
I come back because
kisses to you, kisses to everyone.
Yeah, kisses to everyone and love to everyone. Love.
You're a sweet, sweet guy.
Thank you, say. Obrigado.